Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. For Kody Brown and his relationship with his ex-wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine Brown, the Sister Wives Season 19 tell-all turned out to be the last straw. The entire special demonstrated how Kody was obviously not treating all of his women fairly, but rather than take responsibility for it, he continued to find excuses to place the blame on Robyn Brown, his last wife, who likewise avoided responsibility by spending most of her time in front of the screen. Kody ultimately admitted to something in one startlingly unvarnished moment, shattering the story he had been working so hard to construct. Kody was shown a number of videos during his interview with Sister Wives Tell-All hosts Sukanya, Suki, Krishnan that featured open displays of affection between Christine and her new husband, David Woolley. Their relationship clearly differs from Christine's feelings during her marriage to the patriarch of the Brown family. In her own interview with Suki, Christine acknowledged that the lack of intimacy in her relationship with Kody was the reason behind their final divorce. She clearly doesn't feel that way in her new marriage, though. Christine and David were spotted cuddling, kissing, laughing, and enjoying each other's company during Sister Wives Season 19. Kody said that he was pleased for Christine when he was asked how he felt about her and David's PDA. He was pleased by Christine's ability to manifest the type of relationship she had always desired, the TLC star continued. Kody's remark initially strikes me as polite and responsible. He might not have realized, though, that by doing this, he was essentially admitting that he had been ignoring all of his wives save Robyn. Kody acknowledged that he and Christine struggled to create something genuine as he thought back on their relationship. He refused to admit that his flagrant disregard for Christine's emotional needs was a major contributing factor in this fight. Kody described more than 25 years of his marriage to Christine as a good time experience in the same sentence. Kody has previously attempted to come across as informal and unattached while discussing his ex-wives. The act is becoming a touch stale now. Kody may have been evading responsibility by implying that his marriage to Christine was superficial, but it also demonstrates how emotionally distant he was from his ex-wives. Kody once again denied that his partiality for Robyn was the reason behind his family's disintegration by attempting to make it appear as though both people shared equal responsibility. In contrast, David and Christine's response to the videos was refreshingly candid and further exposed Kody's hypocrisy. Christine just acknowledged that she is now married to a partner who provides her with the connection she has always desired, without assigning blame or painting herself as the victim. However, Woolley didn't mince words and confronted Kody. According to Woolley, Christine acknowledged that she had been deprived of love in her former marriage. Isabel Brown, the 22-year-old daughter of Christine and Kody, also talked about how her ex-husband refused to offer her the physical contact that she always desired. Christine's kids don't mind the PDA at all now that she's with someone who gets her better. The children have stated repeatedly in Sister Wives Season 19 that they are content as long as Christine is content in her new marriage. In light of all of this, Christine appears to have reconciled with her past and is eager for the future. She has truly come to terms with the fact that her previous marriage wasn't ideal. Even Mary and Janelle appear to be more concerned with starting new lives for themselves than with holding onto old grudges and fights. Kody and Robyn are the only ones who haven't done so. They are mired in the past and still openly resentful of the former sister wives for leaving. Kody is now changing the story to save his and Robyn's public image after repeatedly asserting in earlier seasons of the show that he did everything in his power to rescue his several marriages. It is easier for the reality star to reframe his relationships with Mary, Christine, and Janelle as insignificant than to face the fact that he let the women he previously devoted himself to down. There are many of problematic husbands and fathers on reality TV, but Todd Crisley and Kody Brown stand out as the top two names on the chaos list. One is a former Southern real estate tycoon who is now a federal prisoner and has a taste for style and control. The other is a patriarch who practiced polygamy and gradually destroyed his own family on national television. Both men have produced moments of awe, dubious decisions, and enough warning signs to halt traffic. But who truly wins the title of worst reality TV spouse or father in the end? Let's dissect it. Seeing these two males on the little screen bothers me a lot. They are conceited and undoubtedly aware that they are the subject of this piece. Most of the time, they seem to care more about winning than who they hurt. However, all of their wrongdoings eventually catch up with them. Todd's southern charm, upscale taste, and strict control over his meticulously manicured, traditional family were the foundations of his business. Although Crisley Knows Best was meant to highlight his idyllic lifestyle, there was a storm brewing beneath the fancy blazers and one-liners. And it struck hard when it did. First, let's talk about legal issues. Todd and his spouse, Julie Crisley, were serving time for more than $30 million in bank fraud and tax evasion. Not exactly the demeanor of a Southern guy who worships God. Their portrayal on reality TV wasn't merely hyperbolic. It was purportedly founded on a pile of false information, falsified records, and dubious financial gimmicks. The parenting comes next. Todd's fixation on control permeated every facet of his children's lives. He ruled the home with an iron grip clad in a pastel cardigan, controlling everything from their wardrobe choices, no limited to their romantic relationships. It obviously had repercussions, even if it was played on TV for laughs. Lindsay Crisley severed all contact with him after their relationship deteriorated to such an extent. In public. Several times. We also cannot overlook his compulsive conceit. Half the plot lines on his own program didn't interest Todd as much as his Botox schedule did. He used his appearance as armor, but it became more difficult to overlook the fractures in the facade as the legal walls closed in. Todd's fall from grace may have been stunning, but it was actively harming those closest to him for years. All the while, he cited scripture and grinned for the cameras. Cody comes next. Sister Wives' polygamous patriarch who inexplicably transformed a program about religious plural marriage into a multi-year masterclass in emotional maltreatment. The series started with 4 wives and an 18-year-old father. But by the conclusion of season 19, he had 1 wife, 3 ex-partners, and an irreparably broken family. And the most outrageous aspect? He still seemed to be unable to comprehend what went wrong. First, let's talk about parenting. Cody has publicly shown preference for some children over others, frequently attending Robin Brown's children's birthdays and milestones while neglecting those of the other children. It was cruel to witness the emotional abuse his kids had to go through, particularly during COVID, when he imposed regulations that only applied to specific houses. What about his husband's qualifications? Even terrible. For years, he belittled his wives' worries, gaslight them, and then pretended to be startled when they departed. The final nail in the coffin of the spiritual marriage was Janelle Brown's discreet departure, while Christine Brown's leaving was a mic drop worthy of TLC. Then there is the righteousness of religion. Cody justified his actions by citing his faith, but only when it was convenient for him. While maintaining that he was still acting in accordance with God's plan, he gradually withdrew into a monogamous corner with Robin, turning the divine idea of plural marriage into a joke. Additionally, Cody's financial disarray is worth mentioning. One recurrent subject has been the Brown family's financial difficulties. As half of the family lived in rentals, they had to balance several mortgages and invest in vacant land. Hey, Coyote Pass. It was disorganized, disorderly, and eventually unsustainable. Cody has, however, remained remarkably self-deluded throughout it all. He continues to speak as though he is the leader of a cohesive family. On camera, sir, 3/4 of your wives abandoned you. Cody wins despite Todd's messiness. Trust us, he's a living warning tale. Why? For even though Todd's damage was serious, it came to a hard stop. The law stepped in. The plot of the story seemed obvious. However, Cody's dysfunction continues to unravel in real time. He keeps destroying relationships in the name of leadership, justifying all he does with faith and favoritism. His wives and kids continue to suffer emotionally. Even though Todd is in jail, Cody is still emotionally ruining his family, and there is no court date in sight. Sister Wives Cody Brown finally confesses the major reasons why his marriages failed so hard. The truth he hid for years finally comes to light. In a jaw-dropping, emotionally charged confession that sent shockwaves through the Sister Wives fanbase, Kody Brown has finally cracked open the vault and exposed the raw, unfiltered reasons why all of his marriages collapsed into ruin. For years, speculation swirled, blame bounced around from wife to wife, and Kody painted himself as a misunderstood patriarch trying to do his best in an impossible situation. But now, with the cameras still rolling and the fallout from the Coyote Pass disaster still smoldering, the controversial father of 18 is taking the gloves off and laying bare the darkest truths that sabotaged his polygamist empire. And it's not pretty. Kody, once the confident and cocky face of plural marriage on television, sat down for what many are calling the most brutally honest tell-all of his life. Eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled, and ego deflated, he finally admitted, "I thought I was a man of vision, but I was really just afraid of being alone. I didn't build a family, I built a house of cards." The candid moment stunned both his estranged wives and even his remaining supporters. For over a decade, Kody maintained the narrative that his marriages failed due to the wives' incompatibility, their refusal to get along, and their unwillingness to stay obedient to the spiritual principle. But now he's reversing course and acknowledging his own role, and it's darker than anyone could have guessed. Kody confessed that he harbored resentment toward Christine long before she left him, revealing that her independence and refusal to worship him like Robin did made him feel castrated as a man. He shockingly admitted, "I used religion to control her. I thought if I made her feel guilty enough, she'd stay." The revelation that Kody emotionally manipulated Christine for years under the guise of spiritual duty has reignited criticism about the power dynamics within the Brown household. "It wasn't love," Christine reportedly responded. "It was control dressed up as faith." But the bombshells didn't stop there. When it came to Mary, Kody dropped the devastating truth. "I stopped loving her years ago. I stayed out of obligation. I let her hope for a future that I knew was dead." The audience gasped as the admission rolled off his tongue, finally confirming what Mary had suspected for over a decade, that the man she spiritually married in 1990 had emotionally abandoned her long before their legal divorce. And in a moment that could only be described as both cruel and freeing, Kody acknowledged that the catfishing scandal wasn't the real reason for their disconnect. That was just a convenient excuse. "The truth is, I left her long before she made her mistake." Turning to Janelle, the once practical and loyal second wife, Kody's confession was laced with regret. "Janelle gave me the benefit of the doubt too many times," he said, voice trembling. "She was the glue, the one who held everything together. But I took her for granted. I thought she'd never leave, so I stopped trying." Fans watched for years as Janelle played peacekeeper and provider, often being Kody's emotional dumping ground while getting very little in return. In hindsight, Kody now admits, "She was my partner more than any of the others, and I failed her the most." But perhaps the most explosive revelation was about Robin, the so-called favorite wife. For years, viewers have accused Kody of playing favorites and neglecting his other wives to build a monogamous fantasy with Robin. But in a stunning reversal, Kody finally confessed, "I leaned into Robin because she was the only one who still looked at me like I was worth something. I was desperate to feel adored again." He didn't deny the favoritism, he confirmed it. "The other saw me for who I really was. Robin still saw the man I pretended to be." Kody then addressed what many believed he'd never admit, that plural marriage, as they practiced it, was doomed from the start. "I pushed polygamy as a solution to my own fear of failure. I thought if I had more wives, I'd never have to face my inadequacies. But all I did was multiply the pain." He recounted sleepless nights, spirals of jealousy, failed attempts to force harmony, and his constant obsession with appearances. "I didn't build a family. I built a circus for the cameras." The courtroom, the confessional couch, and even the living rooms of fans around the world have now become arenas for Kody's reckoning. His emotional breakdown, broadcast and dissected on national television, has opened a new chapter in the Sister Wives saga, one where accountability is no longer a choice, but a necessity. For the first time, Kody isn't deflecting blame. He's admitting that his ego, his insecurity, and his hunger for adoration caused irreparable damage to the people who once loved him the most. The fallout has been swift and sharp. Christine, in a short but firm Instagram post, wrote, "Some truths set you free. Others just confirm you were never truly loved." Mary posted a photo of a sunrise captioned, "You can't heal in the place that broke you." And Janelle, ever composed, simply shared, "Finally, the truth." Cody's confession marks a turning point not just for the show, but for the culture around it. He once symbolized the dream of polygamy, but now he's the cautionary tale. A man who thought he could love 4 women equally, but couldn't even love himself enough to be honest. A man who hid behind scripture, then behind Robin, then behind the cameras. But now there's nowhere left to hide. And perhaps, in this unraveling, lies the only path forward, not toward reconciliation, but toward responsibility. Kody Brown has finally spoken. The truth is out. And nothing, not the show, not the family, not even Kody himself, will ever be the same again.